And we're joined in the studio by I24 News defense correspondent Era Ehrenheim. Thanks for joining us, and editor Ron Friedman. But first, we're joined via Skype or phone, if I'm not mistaken, from Sana'a by I24 News contributor Nisma Mansour. Nisma, thank you for joining us this morning. I understand there's a power cut in Sana'a, which forced this to be a phone call rather than Skype. What's the latest from there?
The latest news that airstrikes have begun since the end of the peace talk, because by the end of the peace talk, the ceasefire have ended. The airstrikes are everywhere this time, and we never know what is coming next because of what is happening.
Absolutely. Humanitarian efforts, we know, are very much harmed in the conflict areas. The latest numbers are saying that 14 million are facing food shortages. How does aid reach the areas needed most?
Well, in southern areas, aid reaches through the force, which is under the control of the government. In Sana'a, it used to reach by Sana'a's international airport, but now it is closed because it has been airstrikes 2 days ago, and it is closed until 72 hours, and it might get extended, and lots of Yemenis who are outside Yemen still stuck. So until now, we don't know how is the situation. The situation is so flat.
Nisma, now with the peace talks broken down and the escalation this past week, explain to us the shift on the ground, the now rebels holding Sana'a and the renewed airstrikes. What is the balance of power looking like in the country?
Now, whenever the peace talks and all the war parts start to work to prove they are the strongest, the healthy rebel militia, they do heavy the heavy fighting happens especially in Paris. And on the other hand, you have the Saudi-led coalition. Whenever the peace talks end, the most horrible airstrikes happen, and they just want to prove to each other that I'm the one who's in control. While no one is control and no one is getting benefit, it's only the Yemeni people who are getting killed by both hands, the Saudi hands and the Houthi hands.
Nisma Mansour from Yemen, thank you very much for weighing in this morning. We'll leave it at that and bringing the discussion back to studio. Anna, it seems that there are no humanitarian corridors to actually help the aid reach the people who need it most.
That's true, and like she said, the airport has been shut down. The Saudi-led coalition closed the airspace around it. Now, there were reports, I spoke to a number of people in Yemen saying that there were children that were actually on their way to Jordan for emergency medical care and were not able to get out of Yemen because of the closure of the airport. Now, there were also reports of the Saudi-led coalition bombing roads into Sana'a that would help bring in aid trucks. So again, you have no airport access, you have no roads.
And we're hearing
very
about
hard.
Vast flooding throughout the country.
Exactly, and when you have flooding and no aid, and you have millions of people displaced, it's a situation on the ground. It's an almost forgotten war with people focusing on Syria, but when you have thousands of people starving, thousands of people with no access to any health care, it's 500 plus days now of this war going on. So it's a very, very dire situation in one of the poorest countries in the Middle East that's going up against one of the richest countries in the Middle East.
Indeed, and just very quickly, you mentioned Yemen. In Yemen, there's now a 3-day lull of fighting in order for aid to reach the people who need it. Do you see something similar happening in Yemen?
No, like we said before, there's no way for aid to come into the people that need it the most. And when you have really, really heavy fighting, and when you have at least 10 airstrikes hitting the capital, and airstrikes also hitting Red Sea ports of Makkah and Hodeidah, and those places also could be able to bring in aid from the sea, but there's a Saudi blockade on the sea as well.
Anna Ehrenheim, our defense correspondent, thank you very much for joining us this morning.